All right, guys, we are now recording. Welcome to Design 105. Uh, Time is flying by. I know that for some of you, it's been a rough couple of weeks, but hopefully everybody is kind of sticking to the work, able to handle the workload okay. Now, we just had assignment 2, week 2. I was surprised to see not many of you had turned in assignments, and a lot of you guys weren't really participating in the discussions, and this worries me because by week 2, we should be pretty familiar with the class and how to interact with each other and just to stay current and active in class, and that's how we get to keep up our grades. So make sure that you post. Dolores and Diana had a few questions, so we're going to open up with these questions first, and then we'll jump right into our lecture portion. All right, so Dolores, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you so you can talk. And if you can, let me close this. Okay, can you click the share screen on your screen? Do you see that?
Okay. Yeah.
Double window? Yeah, if you click on share screen. Hey, Amanda, good to have you.
Okay. It came up a bunch of different screens.
Okay, so then pick which where your InDesign document is. If you have that open, and then it should allow you to. Okay, perfect. Okay, so you're wanting to change a font, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, are you able to click out of stop screen share and click on the desktop version, because I can't see your drop-down menus. So if you hit stop share, and then when you click on screen share again, make sure you select desktop. On Zoom there. Do you see on Zoom? Sorry, it takes a little bit getting used to. I guess I could try to step you through it. If you just get your type tool. There you go. Okay, perfect. And then when you click share screen, it'll give you a desktop option. You can pull that up. You see that? Oh, okay. I think she clicked out on accident. Oh, there she is.
Okay. Now, what do you want me to do?
Okay, so click share screen one more time. Sorry. We'll get this. And then click on desktop. Do you see the desktop option?
No.
Or does it give you a desktop option when you click share screen?
Well, it has, yeah, it does.
Yeah, if you click that, if you share that, that'll allow me to see your drop-down menus. Okay, perfect. Now I'll go to your InDesign document. There you go. Awesome. Okay, now I can see everything. Perfect. Okay, so just grab the type tool and highlight your text, new arrivals. All right, and then if you'll go to, now you just wanting to change the font and size, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then what font are you using now? Is it Myriad Pro?
Right.
Okay, so then you'll just go, you can either manually enter it in up top or by the font, yeah, right there, or you can find it in the drop-down menu.
So if this isn't up there, how do you get that up there?
Good question. So we'll get it in a different way. If you want to click out of it, I'll show you how to find it elsewhere. Okay, with it highlighted, you'll go to your window drop-down menu. Window is where you'll go in case you can't find anything else anywhere. This is kind of where it has most of the hidden tools and other things. So scroll down to type and tables, it's alphabetical. So, and then click on character. Okay, and so this is kind of your character settings, your type settings, where it changes fonts, tracking, leading, size. And then if you even click, I think there's more options. It gives you other options to do. So, yeah, you can either type in your info or find it in the drop-down menu. It looks like you used it already. The most recent ones will be at the very top.
Yeah. I think it was.
Yeah, so I guess it's the condensed one. bold condensed maybe.
Mm.
The one below it, if you click on the arrow below it, there you go. There's the bold condensed 3 up.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Yeah, the italic. There you go. So that's the one. And good for you on hiding that example layer. Most people skip that step, and it's so crucial. So, does that help?
yes. And then one more thing is the opacity.
Yeah.
I can never find the opacity.
Okay, good question. It's kind of off to the side. Let's see. You can do it. See, if you go to your layers, what are you trying to hide?
Well, like the black. I already did it, but
Sure. Okay, if you get your black arrow, the move tool
yeah.
on your toolbar, and then select what you want to change, the opacity you want to change.
Well, that was on the background layer.
Okay, so if you click the background layer, and then unlock it. Okay, and then it should, can you click out of your character box for me? It's on the bottom right.
Click out of it.
Yeah, just exit out of it since, oh wow, you've got a lot of other boxes. Okay, it's usually at the top of your, at the top of your screen. If it's not, go to your background layer and right click. Or I'm sorry, select it first. And then right click. Why is it not giving you that option? Let's see, let's go to window for me, if you will. See, your tools are slightly out of place, so I'm just trying to figure out. Let's try effects. You go to effects for me. And there's the opacity right there.
Okay.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
It was a little hidden. Sometimes it's in the top of the bar for most. If you don't see it, maybe you could just adjust your settings. But that's where you can find it. So you can just highlight what you want to change the opacity on.
Okay.
And then you can go change it. Yeah, no problem. Those are great questions. Sometimes it's just kind of getting familiar with where things are hidden.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Dolores?
No, that's it.
Perfect. If you have any other questions, again, my open lab is tomorrow, so you guys can come in and do that. All right, awesome. Well, I'll let you get to that. Let's see. Now, I'll go ahead and mute you, Dolores. Diana, do you want to go ahead and ask your question? I'll go ahead and unmute you.
Okay, I'm formatting the second page on assignment 2.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure if I would have to do it on a master. Would the second page also has to be done on a master first?
Oh, that's a good question. Can you pull up your screen for me?
Yes.
And I can look at what you're doing. Click on that share screen icon. I'm not sure if you've used this before. There you go. And then, yeah, select your desk. Perfect. And then go to your InDesign document.
Right here, I have the example, but I wasn't sure if I was supposed to do it on a master, which we did the first page.
Okay, so,
And,
okay. The only master element that you'll probably need for this assignment is just the page number at the bottom. So if you go to your master page, click on a master or double click on a master at the top there.
right here?
Yep, right there. Double click on it. And it'll take you to it. So you've already got your footer there. That's perfect.
Yes.
So, yeah, and then it looks like did you have a text box to the right of that? Was there something in that text box?
It was the month and year. And actually, after I went ahead and formatted the baseline grid,
Okay.
it had 3 errors where the page number, the publication date at the very top on the left side of the newsletter, and the month and year at the right side bottom part of the page had the overset text.
Oh, okay. That's okay. If it says overset text, that's usually a common warning you'll get.
So I
Just,
wouldn't have to worry about those three.
well, I think what the problem is that you see that little plus sign in
Yeah.
that text box. That means that your text can't be seen. It doesn't fit in the text box. So you have to make that box a little bit bigger. So if you grab your move tool, the black arrow, it looks like, yeah, and then if you click on it and then kind of expand the box to make it a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Grab the anchor points. There you go. But what you want to do is make sure it's placed in line with your page number.
Okay. And on the first page, which I had typed in March 2016, also it was coming as overset text.
Okay.
So it's on the first page.
Okay, sounds good. So I'll help you with that one in just a minute. Can you line up your page number for me? See that text box with the A in it?
Right here.
Yeah.
So I need to move it up.
Yeah, just you want it lined up exactly. See those guides? They're guiding you. They're showing you where you need to line it up. So right there, perfect. So we want everything to kind of, that's what we mean by alignment. We want everything to line on that line,
Okay.
align with those rulers and guides. And then Amanda's right. We're missing a gutter on your columns. So can you go to your first page for me? I just want to check that out real quick. And this is good to know, anyone who's watching, in case your document needs to be set up. Kind of shows you how to do this assignment. If you'll just double click on your page 1. Double click on it. There you go. Okay, so we're probably, what we need to do is maybe reset up the document. You can copy and paste everything in. So I think what we need to do is set up the document so that you have a gutter on each column, because this is going to help you align your text a little bit better. And it's a very simple fix. So I'll step you through it if you don't mind. Can you go to File, Create New Document? Document, there you go. And then we're going to, letter, orientation's right. Number of pages, you want to change that to 4. Deselect facing pages for me. Perfect. And then columns, we want 3 columns. And then on the gutter, go ahead and put 1, or let's see, put 0.25. We'll do a 1/4 inch.
Okay.
0.25, 0.25. Can you do that?
Okay.
Or even that should be fine.
Is that okay?
Can you delete all the numbers in there? I think we're just getting a little confused. Sorry, it's hard when I'm trying to direct. If you do 0.25, that's fine. That's perfect. Perfect. Hit OK. Okay, so now you have a gutter, and the gutter is that space between each column. So that will divide your text for you, so that you line up your text boxes so they hit the edge of each column, but you already have some predefined space in between each one. So that should help.
Okay.
Okay, so now what we need to do is just copy and paste our pictures in our text boxes in there. If you go to your Untitled 1, back to your newsletter.
Do I click
I'm sorry, your other file up top, it says on top left of your screen, it says Untitled-1. Do you see that? If you click on that, Untitled-1. And if you hit Command A, are you a Mac or a PC?
Mac.
You're on Mac? Okay, if you click Command A on your keyboard. First, unlock all of your layers, if you will. That might help. Yeah, unlock the layers. hit Command A. Can you grab your Move tool and select the document? Oh, can you show your example layer for me? Yeah, thanks, Amanda. Just click that eyeball to bring up the example layer. Right now it's hidden. Perfect. Okay, now if you could hit Command A for me. Is it not selecting?
No. Oh,
There you go. There you go. Okay, now hit Command C.
That
And
came
then,
down?
yep, Command C
Okay.
for copy. And then go to the other document for me.
Which
The
one?
Untitled 2 at the top left, the one we just created. And then hit Command, or right click on it, right click on that page. Are you on your laptop? Okay, go to File and paste, Edit, sorry. Go to Edit.
Edit?
Paste in place. There you go.
Okay.
All right, so everything kind of reformatted a little bit. So what we're going to need to do is go in and reformat the body text. If you'll double click and highlight all of it. Or highlight what's in the text box, I'm sorry.
Which text box? Right here, the...
I'm sorry, the body, the filler text for the paragraphs, just that with the drop down, the drop cap. If you'll highlight, I wouldn't move it. If you could just double click in it and then highlight all of the text.
Okay.
I might suggest to save you a headache to just refill the box with text, delete the text boxes and relay them out, and then just fill them with text, because you already have a body text paragraph style, so to format it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Okay.
But now that your document is set up the way it needs to be, this will help you keep things aligned. So the idea here is to line up all of your boxes within that margin, that purple square. You see that purple square inside the page? You want all your text boxes to line up perfectly with that square. That's the idea. So, and we can work on this more tomorrow if you're able to come.
Okay. We'll leave it until tomorrow.
I'm sorry.
We'll leave it until tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, and feel free to work on it. No, don't wait till tomorrow. Keep working on it, but I can help you tighten it up. We can talk a little bit more about what I'm wanting you to do, and if we have time after class, I can definitely help you as well.
Okay. So
Okay.
the only thing that I would have to do again is the paragraphs. Each paragraphs. Delete the information right there and go ahead and place text, use the placeholder text to format again, and do the paragraphs styles, or use the ones that I have already. And
Exactly. You can use the styles you have already set up. Whatever's easier. You can either just highlight the text that's in those text boxes already and just reformat them by using your paragraph styles, or if it's easier, just delete the boxes and start over. Whichever one is easier for you. You will have to set up your layers again because the layers didn't copy over. So you kind of have to place the boxes in each layer. I can help you with that tomorrow. That one's easy, but I can show you how to do it in just 2 or 3 steps, so it doesn't take you too long. For now, go ahead and format your text so everything lines up correctly, and then we'll place things in layers tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. And this will help you this will help keep things more aligned now that we've got our gutters.
Okay, and I also have another question.
Sure.
On the second page, do I need to do an example master page also?
Yeah, I know you were asking that. No, you don't need to do an example master page. The only thing that you need to bring over from your other document, you'll have to copy over, is the page number. That's the only thing that you'll need to go on your A master. It's just the page number and the date. So what you had on your other A master, you'll just have to copy that over to this A master. So you don't have to do an example master or anything like that. You can bring it in and lower the opacity so you can copy the layout, but you don't have to put it on your master. No.
Okay.
Does that answer your question? So It's really simple. You just need the page number and the date on your master, and that should be just enough. I just want to see that you know how to use the master page is all this exercise is for.
Okay.
Okay. And again, I'd be happy to go over it tomorrow if you can come into class, and I can help you. We can tighten this up and get it ready to turn in.
Okay, I will. I will.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great questions all around. All right. Any other questions? I'll go ahead and mute you, Diana. Okay. Okay. We good? Those were good questions, guys. And I'm sure everyone watching at home has had those same questions. So that's why I like helping you guys out in class. And besides, the ones that come to class get their questions answered first, right? All right. Let's get started. We lost some time, but I'm going to go ahead and pull up this here. I had just a few bullet points of things I wanted to go over. First things first, I don't think you all are getting all the points that you possibly can on these discussions. A lot of you are doing amazing. Just a few things I want to point out. Make sure that you put what's it called? Sorry, APA format. Just kind of cite your source. It doesn't have to be very like English paper formal, but you do have to put the link if you copied some of the text, or if you're pulling information or using examples. If you post a picture or whatever, just make sure you're putting that the web and the article name and just where you've got it. But this discussion is very different because you're actually supposed to design your own incorrect example. So instead of pulling examples off the web, you're going to be designing your own. This should be pretty easy. Just throw some things on a page without any organization whatsoever, and you could call it good. I like the student was brave enough. Let's see, Lee posted yesterday, and then we just had Sierra post. She's showing you a lack of composition. This is a great example. It's harder to design something bad if you understand the principles of design, and we'll go over that today. So I'm just kind of wanted to show you my example here in this business card. We've got different paragraph alignments. The address is shifted over, and the phone number and the email is kind of centered somewhere else. The name is left justified, and the logo kind of hovers over randomly. And nothing really there's no center or nucleus holding this together. There's no proper alignment. So what I wanted to show you, what's visually important in print graphic design, is that you kind of have to align everything correctly. So this was the redesigned version. Yeah, I know. Amanda says her OCD hurts. Exactly. So you kind of want to make sure there's this invisible line. And I talk about this down here at this bottom example, Chic Geek Regina Flanges. I centered the name. You center the name of the business. The logo is nice and big. Everything's nice and centered. You see these red lines? Everything's lined up perfectly. They're all on this imaginary line that lines everything up. So this is what I'm going to be looking for in your newsletter layout, as well as future designs that you're going to be doing. So alignment is huge, and you want to make sure you have a good understanding of that. So read my post so that you kind of get a better understanding of what I'm looking for. See how these shapes lay on the same edge alignment here, the same line? This is what I'm going to be looking for with text boxes. Are text boxes staggered, or are they on that same invisible line? Make sure your rulers and guides are on so that they can snap into place for you. This helps. If you try to eyeball it, it's never a good thing. So you want to make sure you have your rulers and guides on. And let's see. No, I didn't, Amanda, unfortunately. No, I saw this. This is a great link that with article that kind of shows step-by-step examples. And so I thought this was awesome for this particular discussion. So I wanted to share it. So basic alignment principles, we'll talk more about that. With the discussion, I did want to explain that your first post is due on Wednesday, so make sure you get that in. And your post does need to be 150 words minimum. So it does need to be a good significant post. It can't be just a 50-word blurb. You need to make sure you're describing, explaining, talking about these principles. Now, you are asked to create a quick example, but I also want you to give ways to correct the incorrect composition when you reply to your peers. And once you give an incorrect initial post, I want you to give methods of how to correct at least, you can even correct your own. You can kind of critique your own assignment if you want. But I want you to start talking about using terms we're learning, proper alignment, objectives, how to keep things within the principles that we've been learning throughout the class. So those were a few things I wanted to talk about. So post this Wednesday, design your own incorrect example. This should be pretty easy. Just do a quick rough draft, and then some brave students have already posted first, so you can see what they're doing and come up with something of your own. All right, so now I wanted to go over the quizzes, because I like to do that at the beginning of class, kind of help you guys out. I never know what the quizzes are going to say until we're looking at them. So you can help me if you've already taken, let's see, we've already done today's, so let's do Tuesdays. So let's do this one together. What form determines a student's eligibility for federal aid programs? I believe it's FAFSA. So we'll submit that answer. Okay, and that answer is found right here in that paragraph. Okay, let's do the next one. There's a great video to watch. Big Spaceship calls their workflow a framework rather than a process. I guess you'd have to watch the video to get this answer. I'll say true. I'm not quite sure. I don't know either. So it's true. There you go. Good guess. Let's try. Okay, another video. A frame with a picture in it will have a colored fill. Is that correct? True or false? A frame with a picture in it will have a colored fill. Amanda says false. I say it's false unless there's something new I need to learn. Okay, yeah, it's false. Again, watch the video. It should help you. There's another video, same video. You can change the color of the stroke by making the stroke red, the background, the foreground, or making the stroke appear. What do you think? So I think it's by making the stroke, bringing the stroke to the foreground. You should be able to change the color. Remember, on your toolbar, you have the stroke and then you have the fill box, and whichever one's in the front, we call that the foreground. Whichever one's in the back is called the background. And you just need to make sure it's whichever one you're trying to change or alter needs to be in the front. So if you watch that video, it'll explain it a little bit more. Good job, guys. Okay, so I'll send you off to do Saturday and Sunday, and these quizzes should be easy, so we should see 5s across the board. All right, any questions so far? No, okay. All right, so another thing I wanted to talk about are the grading rubrics. Those are up. So have you guys had a chance to look at week 3 at all? I know we're just jumping into it. Whoops. Okay, so yes, you have. That's good, Dolores. I'm glad. Thank you for staying up to date with the assignments. I wanted to point out I posted the grading rubric for each assignment, so the final newsletter design, and we're already starting to think about the final project. We're working on, a lot of week 2 has been part A, part B of the newsletter. Well, in week 3, we're going to do part A of the final project. And then week 4, you're going to do part B of the final project. So it's going to be the same project, but you're going to be not only making changes and using the critique and the feedback I'm giving you, but you're also going to create the other half of it during week 4. So we're already starting to think of the final project. So week 3 assessment is the restaurant menu. And this is a really cool assignment because you're going to actually get to do something that you would do in the real world, in the industry, if you were doing this. I've done menu design, oh gosh, I've been doing it for 7-8 years now for several different restaurants, and it is absolutely a blast. I love it. So yeah, and if you are seasoned, you have done, you'll definitely do menu designs if you go into the graphic design industry. It's one of those things, just like business cards, you'll probably end up doing one. So I really think this is applicable to real life. So take it seriously and do a portfolio worthy job, okay? We want to be able to post these projects in our portfolios when we're done. So keep in mind the principles and elements of the design as you work. We're going to be going over those today, so I'll be looking and grading for that. I need you to come up with something that's not just a logo on a page, okay? We need to have some kind of theme throughout the menu. I've had a lot of students get creative, and they've done some really great things without detouring too much from the, I guess, what the client wants. And I say that with air quotes because I just want to see concept and creativity in this assignment. This is one assignment where you're not going to have to copy an example. You kind of get to do your own thing for once. And it's both scary and exciting at the same time for some of you. So this is good because it will kind of take you off taking off the training wheels, so to speak, and you can kind of design freely. However, you do have some constraints that we need to stay in. So yes, 8.5 by 11. You can do landscape or horizontal, however you want to do it. This, you do need to have a concept, okay? It can't be just putting a logo on a page and calling it good. I need to see that you've got a theme, so create your own design. This logo is given to you. You do need to use this logo. And then all your specifications are here for your dimensions on your assignment. Same thing, please make sure you know how to package an InDesign file. We're on week 3 now, and I've had a lot of students struggle with this still. So I understand watching a 2-hour lecture is really hard when you're trying to find out how to do this. So I'm gonna go over it real quick for you, do another quick demo at the end of class so that we all are familiar with how to do this. So we need to package the InDesign file we're working on, and then zip that folder. So we don't zip the PDF, don't zip the InDesign file. You do have to package it, and it's a process. Again, I think you guys are all doing fine when it comes to file names. And yeah, so make sure you look at this carefully. This is for the final project, but we are starting it this week. So ready or not, here it comes. And I think that's all for assessment 3. We're gonna finish the other half of the newsletter. So whatever assignment or whatever document you have for the first half of the newsletter, you're going to be working in that again. You're going to finish the final 2 pages. And there's a sample newsletter zip, and then you've got your week 3 assignment zip. These 2 files do need to be downloaded, and you can use that for your week 3. And I think that's it. But just pay attention to the grading rubrics, what points are going to be weighing heavier, and just make sure you read it before you submit. Come tomorrow to my open lab. It's open lab, it's not a lecture. You can ask questions or work quietly, whatever you want to do. I've had some students just come and work the whole time and pop in and out when they want to. It's a come and go kind of thing, just a tutoring office hours. If you just want to chat and have some questions answered, that's cool too. If my open lab does not meet with your schedule, there's an open lab schedule for all the days of the week, all different times throughout those days, held by different instructors, and they can help you. Whether or not you have them as an instructor, you can use them. They're like tutors. If that doesn't work for you, there's the tutoring center. No appointment is needed for that. And then our class tutor, Carly Phillips, I'm not sure if you've had a chance to work with her, but she's great, and she's there to help. So I've copied her on some of the emails that I've corresponded with you guys, just so that you could get in touch and feel comfortable with her. But she's great, so hopefully you have time to work with her. So there's multiple ways to get some help on these assignments, so make sure you're doing that, staying up with the quizzes. Are there any questions about our current assignments then? All right, so that's the boring stuff. So let's get to the PowerPoint slides, and we will go over some key things that we need to know before we begin our design. Now, I want you to be able to apply this to the newsletter assignment that you're working on. Let's move. Okay, so I wanted to talk about packaging files for print real quick before we dive into anything else. Most of you who are here understand how to do that, so I guess you could tune out for just a minute or tune in. But I wanted to talk to you about how important it is to know how to package a file. You'll do this when you send files to a printer, and packages all your fonts, all your images, any graphics that you're using in your document. It'll put it all into this nice folder for you and organize it. It will also make a PDF for you, so it saves you a step. So the way that you do it is you go to your drop-down menu here at the top left, File, click on Package, and then it has the keyboard shortcuts if you're a keyboard shortcut kind of person. This will bring up a dialog box, and it will give you all the information about what is going to be packaged. It looks like this. Some will say links and images. It'll say 0 found, 0 modified, 0 missing. Just make sure that everything is clear before you hit OK. If it can't find a link, which is a picture or a graphic, that means that you got to go relink it, that you might have moved it since you last downloaded it or last placed it. So just go through, it'll kind of step you through, hit OK, OK if you're ready. It'll bring up this dialog box, printing instructions. Don't worry about this so much, just give your name, put the name of the assignment in there, but you don't really have to worry about this for our class. This is just as if you were sending it to a printer. You'd need to provide a little bit more information. But you hit OK when you get that dialog box. Obviously, remember what you're saving it as and where you're saving it, because once it creates the folder, that's what it's creating as a folder. Once it creates it, you've got to be able to go find it. So just remember where you're putting it. I like putting it on my desktop and filing it later just because it's easier to find, but it's up to you. And it really can't get much easier than that. That's it. And this is what it looks like. It'll be your folder, and then you right-click on that folder to compress it. Okay, and that's your zip file, and that zip file is what you're going to upload. But if you'll notice, I guess in this example it doesn't show, but it will create a PDF for you. So the PDF's already in that folder, so you don't have to create another one. So hopefully with these simple steps, you'll be able to package it properly and get it uploaded quicker. Are there any questions about packaging files? We're pretty comfortable with how to do that. All right. So let's move on. Principles of design. So let's talk about this. We're going to be needing to understand this for our discussion 3 and also for our assignments. So I wanted to start off by talking about the power and ease of today's computer applications, specifically Adobe Design, because it's so easy to use, or I guess people are starting to gravitate towards it and find more uses to make things more convenient for them. This has raised the bar drastically on the quality of design that's expected in the documents that graphic designers produce. It was only as recent as 10 years ago that it was typical to produce business letters or memos and other documents using a courier-like monospace typeface, often or having something underlined. Those seem to be the only effects that were available to emphasize certain passages or section headings. So the only options for correcting typos and other mistakes were whiteout, penciled in marks, or retyping. Our documents looked really boring, but they were expected to look boring. And today, it's all changed. Word processing and desktop publishing software are everywhere. And all of them offer dozens, if not hundreds of fonts, ranging from simple to elegant to really bizarre. It's all out there for us to, I guess creativity is just there for us to grasp if we want it. Style sheets are on the web. They're easily accessible styling options in software. This just gives us the potential to greatly enhance the layout and the delivery of information. So because it's raised the bar, expectations are high. So the result, of course, is more likely to be kind of a mishmash of difficult to read fonts, maybe some random italics, bold-faced text. The tools available to us can very quickly produce a messy, over-designed document that I would consider far less readable than the plain typewritten documents of old. So because we have so many options and so many effects available to us, sometimes we can over-design and things can get kind of muddled. And so it's important to understand the principles of design because this will help us create some organization and really clear flow to our layout. There's a method to the madness. And I like using that phrase because that's exactly what it is. Applying a few basic design skills can help avoid these mistakes. Instead, allowing the features that we often regard as extras to take their rightful places as means of enhancing the readability of your work. So while design is a skill, equal parts art and equal parts science, that can take years to develop to a professional level. So be patient with yourself. The core ideas, though, are very simple, and applying them can produce a marked improvement on your day-to-day work, even in your classwork. So all design starts from 4 basic principles, abbreviated as CRAP. And these are in no order, specific order, just people have fun making this acronym. CRAP, we call it the CRAP principles of design. But really, in no particular order do these fall. It's just easy to remember. So the CRAP model: contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. They come, like I said, these are these are the principles of design. These are the main principles of design: contrast, making sure that things stand out; repetition, making sure things are repetitive, whether it's and that creates unity. If you're going to use a red throughout your menu theme, then you kind of want to see a little bit of red on each page. You don't want to go hog wild, but it does need to be a unifying repetition. Alignment, again, we're going to talk about aligning our text boxes with our pictures. Use those margin lines, the rulers and guides. We talked about aligning things to a baseline grid. We want to make sure that we see everything lined up perfectly. And then proximity: how close is something? How far away is it? Are these supposed to be grouped, or are they supposed to be separate? And we need to make sure that we're very clear with that with our designs. So when we talk about contrast refers to any difference in size, shape, or color used to distinguish text, or really other elements, though here I like to focus on text from other pieces of text. So if you use bold or italics, this is one form of contrast. So if you've got, like I have here, the last few words of my sentence are bold, that contrasts with the regular size font that I have. I've also used italics in here. This creates some certain emphasis on things. And so increasing the size of headers and titles, or using all caps or small lowercase, are other ways of distinguishing text. Now, these techniques only work if they're used sparingly. A document typed in all capital letters has less contrast than one typed normally, so it's harder or not easier to read. So make sure that you're doing things sparingly and not overdoing it, because if everything's in bold, then nothing stands out, right? So we just want to make sure either keywords are in bold or underlined or italicized, or even you could change the color, and that can create contrast as well. So there's lots of different ways that we can create contrast in our designs. So we want to just make sure we're aware of that. Even in my PowerPoint slide here, I've used red on white. That's considered contrast, right? What other things do you see that can be contrast in my PowerPoint slide here? Exactly, the size. Thank you, Dolores. So the size of my headline contrasts with the size of my font. So again, I have smaller font. Contrast is a great way to create hierarchy in your designs. You kind of want to tell the eye where to go first. And usually the bigger the font or the bigger an object, that's kind of where your eye will gravitate first. Then you start with something a little smaller. Then that's where my eye will move next. Now the smallest thing will be read or seen last. So you're kind of telling yourself where you want the eye to go. Yeah, Diana, she says white background, black text. That's another example of contrast. So you guys are getting it. I like this. So we can see we can create contrast with size, color, and even with text. So there's a lot of different ways that we can do this. Your job as a designer is to tell me, the audience, what I need to look at first, or what needs to stand out. Good job. Okay, so let's talk about repetition. So repetition in your text is bad. Obviously, you don't want to see repetitive words like repetition, repetition, repetition. But repetition of your design elements is not only good, but necessary. So once you've decided on a size and a typeface for second level headers, for instance, on your newsletter, all your second level headers, all second level headers should look the same. So for most documents, 2 or maybe 3 fonts can be used, leaning heavily on one for all of the body text. I would think you'd want to keep certain things consistent. So here, I've used the same font for my body text, but I decided to do kind of bold this text to create, or I guess this is contrast, but because I've used the same font in my body text, this is repetition. I've used the same font weight, same font size, same font family. That's repetition. Okay. And then the same bullets, again, my bullets are a repetitive object or element. My bullets are all the same size, same color. So that's repetition. So information that appears on every page should appear in the same place on every page. So just like your newsletter, the page number, should it be in a different place on every page? No, absolutely not, right? That's an easy answer. Page number should be in the same place at the same, always on no matter what page you're on. That's why we put them on a master, because it aligns it perfectly for us and places it there for us. Let's see, design elements like horizontal rules between sections or corporate logos, these should appear the same whenever they are used throughout the document. Repetition, so I want to point out for the menu design, we're going to be using a logo. So if you're going to use that logo on each page, it needs to appear the same whenever it's used throughout the document, okay? Repetition of design elements pulls the document together. This makes a really cohesive whole, a cohesive project or an assignment. And it also improves readability. So this makes it very clean for me to read. I'm not overwhelmed by lots of different fonts and sizes and things. This is all uniform. It's repetitious, but it's in a good way. So because it improves readability, as the reader, I've come to expect text that looks a certain way to indicate certain qualities, like the start of a new section. Okay, well, I know that the headline is going to start me at a new section, or a major point in the paragraph, or maybe a piece of code if you're a computer whiz. But whoops, let's go back. We're skipping ahead. So you kind of get the idea here, right? Okay, let's talk about alignment. This one, a lot of students struggle with, not necessarily grasping the concept, but being able to apply it in design. So I want to stress heavily, alignment is crucial not just to the cohesive appearance of your document, but to the creation of contrast for elements like bullet lists or double indented long quotes. Your document should have a couple of vertical baselines, and all text should be aligned to one of them. So I use those rulers and guides, or maybe use your margin line. Unaligned text floats mysteriously, and this forces the reader to figure out its relation to the rest of the documents. You're the professional here. So center text is particularly bad, and it's a novice's favorite design trick to center text on something, but really try to use your other text alignment options. One immediate step that you can take to vastly improve the appearance of your document or your project is to remove the center alignment button from your software's toolbar, so you're not tempted. Or maybe less drastically, just ignore it, okay? So kind of make a point to be able to avoid it if you can. It is really self-evident what centering is meant to communicate, and too much centered text creates a sloppy, undisciplined look. So we don't want to rely too heavily on that. You want to be able to, on a cover, sure, you'll have to center some things. In fact, our menu design will require us to center some things. But when we get into the meat and potatoes of the inside pages of our menu, I'm only doing left justify. That's what I'm using for my alignment. So we want to make sure we steer clear of the centering temptation when it comes to aligning things, especially large amounts of text. We don't want to center large amounts of text. We want to make sure that we use it sparingly. Are there any questions with contrast, repetition, and alignment? All right. Last one on proximity. Okay, so pieces of information that are meant to complement each other should be near to each other, right? If I were to take this paragraph and post it, kind of move it over here, the proximity has changed. So now, instead of being two similar bullet points under the same category, to me this shows, okay, this isn't even part of the group when I'm talking about proximity. This is something separate. So you can see with your eye that you need to make sure that you group things correctly. All right, does that make sense? So we want to make sure that things are in proximity to each other. So one great offender here is business cards. And I put that as my example in discussion 3. So check that out. And business cards and ads in local newspapers, where the name, the address, the phone number, they're all kind of scattered around the ad or the business card. So for example, in the corners, sometimes you'll see maybe the email address in the top left, the bottom left corner, and then you'll see the phone number in the bottom right corner. Your reader shouldn't have to seek out the next logical piece of information. This isn't a look and find game. We need to be able to approximately put things not only in order, but kind of group them of importance. So rather use proximity to make sure that the next piece of information that a reader sees is the next piece of information they should see. So again, proximity is a great way to create visual hierarchy. And I want to tell my students to imagine a pyramid, a big triangle, right? At the top, or an upside down triangle. So at the bottom, the base of the triangle, when it's flipped over, it's very wide. That should be the largest, biggest, most important information. And as you tailor down to the smallest point of that upside down triangle, information should be getting smaller, but not spread apart. So we want to make sure everything's, the proximity is correct, but also the size gets smaller and smaller, but things are still grouped together. So none of these principles really stands alone. I guess I label them as individual things, but they are used one and the same. So repetition and alignment together create the normal state that allows changing the shape or the position of a piece of text to produce contrast. So they're kind of used interchangeably. Repetition and proximity go hand in hand. They're used to create useful formats like bulleted lists. The repetition of a bullet adds force to the proximity of the points, and proximity groups them together. In fact, the bulleted list above here uses all 4 of these principles to work. It contrasts with the body of the PowerPoint slide by being aligned to a different baseline than the rest of the objects on the page. Each principle is in boldface, or I guess headline is in boldface, providing contrast. This is also directly followed by the explanation, providing proximity. The bullets, the boldface text, the alignment, they're all repeated in each new point on the list. So again, this is just a very simple way to lay something out. And we call these 4 things the 4 design principles of graphic design. So almost all design builds on the foundation that we just talked about. I want you to ask yourself how well each element of your layout satisfies these basic principles. And make sure that it's a good way that your work remains readable to your audience, whether it's your instructor or if you're a graphic designer and you're working with clients or your employer who hires you to do design. You just want to make sure that you are already unconsciously using these principles in your work. We want to be able to apply them. So be more aware of where we're placing things. Make sure there's always a purpose to where you put something. And know that the principles and recognizing their use are going to help you make better conscious decisions in the future when it comes to your assignments, when it comes to your projects, or even your work, and if you get hired on by an agency. Are there any questions? All right. So basically, ultimately, the goal is for the work that you put into designing a document to disappear, to become invisible. Leave your reader or your viewer with unfettered access to the points that you're trying to convey. So both directly in your text and ever so subtly in your choice of design elements. So in this respect, it's a thankless job, really, to be a graphic designer, because everyone just expects things to look great, right? Because only rarely will anyone comment or even notice the quality of design, but they will notice and act on the message. And that's what's important, isn't it? Right? We're in charge. We've been charged with that special job, is to get a message across. But we can't do that if people are distracted by our lack of design principles in our layouts. So we just want to make sure we have that basic foundation. So as you're going in and making incorrect designs, that you know, okay, well, I'm going to make an example of proximity. I'm going to take these grouped objects and move them separately. And, oh, and I have a really great slide. I'll save this for tomorrow, but I wanted to show you. Let's see if I've got the slide on here. Here we go. Here's an example of proximity. So what do you notice about this picture? Yeah, that's true, Amanda. At least we get paid. So what do you notice in terms of proximity? What do you see about this PDF, or sorry, this picture? There are two elements, right? They're separate. So these are groups of two, right? If they were all bunched together, then they'd be a group of four. But because proximity has put this invisible, this gap of white space in between the four pieces, this now shows me they're a group of two. Okay, so proximity can change things altogether. It can either be a group of four or it could be two groups of two. And so that's what we're seeing here, is because of the way that the objects have been placed, it now shows two groups of two instead of the alternative. So just even the subtlest differences can make a big difference. So just make sure that you're aware of that when you're placing things. Okay, so now I just wanted to let you guys know the principles outline that we just talked about, these are developed in full in Robin Williams' excellent book called The Non-Designer's Design Book. And I really recommend to anyone who wants to further develop a really solid sense of design to improve, your day-to-day work. This lecture was based off of some of those principles that he goes on and talks about. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. Okay, so that concludes our slides. If there's no questions, we can go ahead and take our 10-minute break and then jump right into our tutorial part of the lesson, which is the most fun part. I'm going to go over, I don't have my InDesign file pulled up yet. So I'm going to go over the assignment. If you have any other questions, we can talk about that. I was also going to show you how to get started on the menu design. If we don't have time for the menu design, we can, I'll show you how to do the first half, and then on week 4, we can go over the rest of it. So are there any questions before we take our break? Okay, when we come back, Diana, Dolores, Amanda, if you guys have questions about your own assignments, we can go over those as well. So we'll see you guys in 10 minutes. Okay, everyone, so we are back. Are there any questions before we begin the rest of the newsletter? All right, so no questions. So we're going to go ahead and start with the interior page. So by now, I couldn't find my newsletter document, so I'm going to go ahead and just focus on the last two pages. So you've already done the cover and the first inside page with the 2 ads on it. Page 3 and 4 is what you're going to be working on this week. And I'm going to pull up the zip file we're supposed to download. So if you can pull that down from class, go ahead and get the 2 files downloaded that you're going to need. One is the example and one is the actual the folder with all the pictures that you're going to need. And I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop so that you can see everything. I'm just pulling down this sample newsletter. So we've got that. We'll take a look at these. See, okay, so that's page 1. This was page 2. So this is going to be page 3. It's kind of out of order, and page 4. So you can go to File, Place to place your examples. Page 3, page 4. I'm going to get this all lined up. So I'll do the first page for you and kind of set you free on page 4. If we don't have enough time, I might have to set you free on the 4th page because I wanted to go over that menu cover with you guys real quick. All right, so when you place it, it's going to look a little blurry. You can just right-click on it, Display Performance, Fast Display. Whoops. High quality display is what I meant. Thank you. And then just kind of make sure it snaps into place on your page. Okay, so as you can see, the page numbers, month of the year, just make sure you double click on your A master to place that. Now you should have done this the first half of the assignment during week 2, but if you haven't yet, you'll just want to draw a text box. And I like to draw one consistent text box so that it's placed in the exact same, it kind of runs along that margin line right here. And we want to keep everything aligned. So I'm going to go to Type, Insert Special Character, Markers, Current Page Number right here. That'll insert a default letter, but now on each inside page, it'll automatically have that page number for me. Then I'm going to hit Tab over a few times, and you'll see my blinking cursor until I get close to the edge. March 2016. I'm going to highlight this and format it. We've been using Myriad Pro throughout, so I'm going to use Myriad Pro. And for the footer, you don't want it to be very big. In fact, you want it to be on the smaller side. So I'm going to do 8-point font. I'm also going to do a bold so it stands out. All right. And then again, I'm just going to kind of use the space bar until it gets to the edge of this margin line. This margin line is what I want to line everything to. All right. And then I'm going to bring it below the purple margin line because my pages, the way that the examples kind of, they end at the margin line, so I want to give some breathing room to kind of lower it a little bit. So now that I have my footer on my master page, it will be applied to all my other pages. All right, there it is. Okay, so this is what I need. I need to grab my layers, go ahead and label them. Example. I'm going to unlock it. I'm going to change the opacity. Just like that, just subtly. And then I'm going to lock the layer. So I no longer need to mess with it. I don't need it at all. I'm going to create 2 new layers. Remember, one is for pictures and one is for text. And remember to lock the layer that you're not using. So for pictures, I'm going to make sure I'm on the pictures layer. This is where I'm going to pull from the folder that was given to me. And here we are. You can go to File Place to place any pictures, or you can draw your frame first and then go to File Place. That's also a common way to do it. So I can do it that way. I'll grab my rectangle frame tool, click and drag. And I want things to snap into place on that end of that margin. You see that? It doesn't go over into that white space. It stays right here in my margin, okay? And now I'm going to go to File, Place. This is where I've got to search through everything that's been downloaded, because it goes to my download folder. We'll see if I can find it. So my downloads, here it is. And I need to go to that keyboard image, hit open. All right, perfect. Now I can either choose to go to click on this tab here at the top, fill frame proportionately, and that will resize the object proportionately inside of my frame. So that's perfect. Now that's the only picture that I need to place on this layer. So I'm going to hide or lock that layer and unlock my text layer, and now I'll be working on this for the majority of the time. A lot of the elements are very similar, so just make sure you incorporate the same things that we were learning during week 2 of how to kind of match the font. Be very careful as you're typing. I usually like to type this in Word and then copy and paste it over into my InDesign document just to make sure I've caught my mistakes, or you can run spell check. But you kind of want to do that, especially if you are manually typing anything in, because we're always subject to making mistakes. It's very easy when you're typing it. All right, so then I'm going to select my font. Now you should already have a paragraph style, so let's set one up. Go to Styles, Paragraph. I'm going to click on New. This is going to be my headline. And I'm going to go to Basic Character Formats, Myriad Pro. I'm going to see, I want to preview what I'm doing so I can make sure I get the right size. Okay. Letting is good. All right, so I'll hit OK. For this one though, I just want to do this part. So we'll go back to Window, Styles, Paragraph. Oh, there it is. Double click on it, go to Basic Character Formats. There's where I'm going to adjust the font. And I just want to do that headline right there. You can manually enter a number if you don't get the result you're looking for. And on this one, I'm also going to need to adjust. I want this to be, I think, bold. Or is it bold condensed? There we go. Okay, close enough. I get the general idea. All right, and that's how I would set up a paragraph style. I'm gonna center this, kind of get it as close as possible. I want everything to kind of line up on this margin line. And then you can either have it in the same text box or you can do a separate text box, however you feel more comfortable to do. And then this is how I would draw the next headline. Okay, so do you guys understand how to do the basic layout of the newsletter? Okay, I won't go into this. I do want to show you how to do the background. I would do the background last on this newsletter. Make sure, let's see, I would do the text box first. And notice how I'm leaving that using that gutter. I'm leaving the space. Nothing overlaps into that gutter. So in this first one, this is where you'll fill your placeholder text. You'll want to format it correctly, of course. Now, don't get hung up. I did want to let you know, don't get hung up on, are the paragraphs matching up? I just want to make sure that you know how to organize text in each column, okay? So just get it relatively similar. For the background, you'll grab this rectangle tool. This is the last step on the page because it will cover up your text. But I just grab my eyedropper tool and then I right click on it and go to Arrange, Send to Back. So it will be behind my text. And I'll do that the very last step because I don't want to cover up any text that I'm trying to match. All right, that's how you create the yellow rectangle box. One thing you will need to know is how to create bullets in your text. So when you're designing this portion of your newsletter, there's one text box, here's two, and here's three. And I wanted to zoom in and show you, do you see right here how there's a gap between this margin line and my text box? I need to make sure that this extends all the way to the margin line, okay? I don't want any gaps. It needs to extend from one edge of the margin line to the inner side of that gutter. All right, so now here's where I'll do the placeholder text, fill with placeholder text. Obviously, you're going to need to format it, similar style. Here, you'll need to give it headlines. What is it called? Grabbing personal data. You'll need to format these. That's where a paragraph style will come in handy. So if we create another paragraph style, I'll name this one inner headings or subheadings, whatever you want to call it. Myriad Pro 13, and then I want to bold it. Just do a bold on it. Perfect. Okay, hit OK, and then that's good for that one. If I draw, let's see, let's add filler text in this box. Type fill with text. Here's where I will put a return. Protect yourself. Or then I click on subheadings and it already formats it for me, okay? I'm gonna wanna return in between the paragraphs and the header, the headings. Even, it doesn't have to line up perfectly. Just make sure once you've formatted everything that you've got a return space in between. It just allows for some breathing room, as you'll see in the example. So then you're gonna need to include bullet points. The bullet points don't have to line up perfectly. They just need to be, I just need to see that you've used them, okay? There are bullet points right up here at the top of your character formatting controls. You click on the bullet points, it'll insert bullet points for you at where there's a return. If you need to get the bullet points, kind of indent them in, you can use this left indent button here at the top, if you see that. I click on the inside, and that will indent the bullet points. If you want the actual bullet point to get closer to your lettering, you can indent the first line, kind of bring that in. So now not only are they indented in, but the first line is indented as well. So you can do it that way. Now they're all the way to the edge of the margin, so I'm going to just bring them back. Bring them back here. On the second page, you're going to need to use numbers. It's the same concept. You highlight which you want to bullet or to create numbered lists, and you can just click the numbered list portion right here, and it will format it for you, okay? So I know that's hard to see. Let me hide the example. So if you want a bulleted list, you'll click the bullets here up top or the numbered list here right below it. Do you guys see that? Is that clear where you find it? You will need to know that for the second page that you have. Are there any questions about this? All right. Let's move on. Okay, so I think what we're going to do, I'll set you free on this. We kind of reviewed most of it during week 2, so there's not a whole lot that's new. But you will need to be in charge of the second 2 interior pages. This is where you're going to need to use the numbered bullets, but since you understand how to do that, it should be pretty simple, just like placing the bullets. Again, they don't have to line up perfectly. Don't get hung up on that. I just want to see that you know how to insert numbers and bullets in your paragraph. Just get it as similar as you can. The lines don't have to line up. Just make sure that you just have the text boxes placed where they need to go. So I'll be a little lenient on that. This page should be pretty simple because it's just one big picture and then a headline, and you can kind of place the text boxes where they need to go. Okay, any last questions on the newsletter before we move on? Speak now, forever hold your peace. Okay. All right, good. This is pretty simple. All right, so we're going to go over our menu. Now, this is going to give you a starting point. You can choose to do exactly what I've done. You can choose to use a spin-off of it or do something of your own. I'll show you a few do's and don'ts with the menu that I've seen over time as students have come through. One thing that I've seen, let me see if I can hide this. I've seen lots of students grab, let's see, is it gonna let me? Oh, because I hit it. There we go. They'll not only have a background color, but they will have put that on all of the interior pages. Here's a don't. I don't want to see black text on a colored background, okay? This is not good contrast. We just talked about contrast as being we want a very big difference in color. So if you're going to use black or black text, please don't use, it's fine for the cover because it's a good intro to the theme using color, but on inside pages where you're going to be very text and picture heavy, it's very distracting to have a solid background color on your interior pages. I recommend to all my students use a white background, okay? There's a way to be artistic with using a white background, so you don't have to use color as a crutch. Okay, another way around that, I've seen some students, let's see, take the logo, let's see where the logo is. Take the logo and kind of use it as a watermark on the back of the other pages. This also does not need to be done. This is actually another very big distracting, I'll show you what not to do. It's very distracting also when you've got loads of text and lots of pictures to have a huge watermark in the background. Again, don't be scared of a white background. In fact, it kind of forces you to be a little bit more creative when you do have a white background. So it almost is a good challenge for yourself. Watermarks, they're okay, but very subtly. I wouldn't mind if it was maybe a border or maybe something on the left or the right of a page on all the pages. That's cool. Or maybe the top of the page has something. But to do over the middle of the page where you're already going to have text and pictures, it's just going to be a little, we talked about things getting messy. That's kind of one of those things that will make it really messy. So I don't, and besides, I kind of feel like watermarks are kind of outdated. That was kind of last century. So no one really does that anymore. So I just, embrace the white space, okay? But again, this is to each their own. This is your design. I'm just telling you, you're going to get that comment from me. Looks great. Take off the colored background for your inside pages. Force yourself to be a little bit more creative. I'll show you ways that you could do it. I mean, you could do, if you wanted to do the Italian flag, I've seen some students maybe just do like the border. We want to change the color to red. Hang on. You can do something like that, really subtly. Or you can do something on the edge of a page. And this, again, just a really rough example. So this would be on all the pages, and then this is how you would design. That's a really cool way, very fresh and clean, to incorporate a little bit of color if you want to create repetition, to have these on all the inside pages as just kind of your starting point. So you could do that. That's an option. That's another way to include color, but without going ridiculously crazy and making it hard to read. Because here's the thing, here's the challenge with really text-heavy inside pages, is that as a designer, you kind of have to figure out, it's almost like a puzzle. How do you figure out how to make it exciting to read? How do you group things? And how do you do it effectively without just making it even harder to make out the text? So again, you don't want dark text on dark colors. You want contrast. You want either a light background and a dark font, or you want a light font on a dark background, kind of like what we see here. I've used a white, as light as you can get, on a darker background. That's one way to do it. If you're going to do reverse text, it's tasteful to do it with small groups of text. It is not tasteful to have reverse text on all of your inside pages because you felt like using a dark background color. It's okay to do pullouts or to emphasize certain things, but don't do the whole menu in reverse text. It's just you just don't. So it's just not easy to read. It's not easy on the eyes. And don't take my word for it. There are menu scientists out there that will say the same thing. So, and yes, it is true. They do have a real profession out there that has real scientists analyzing effective menu layouts. So it'd be kind of cool thing to research before you start. All right, so yeah, clean, elegant, like Amanda says, just kind of, I don't know, just make it easy to read. And the more simple the design, the better, okay? You can still be creative and still be simple. So without further, I digress. So without further ado, let's start our menu. So let's go to File, New Document, if you guys can follow along. This brings up your new dialog box, okay? I'm going to be taking this example from this article, Design Toots. It's actually tutorials. It's an actually really cool website to go to. I saw this, I was like, oh, this is perfect for our assignment. So this one, I'm just going to follow along. I'm not going to do everything that they're doing, but what's cool about this link is that they've got different fonts that you can download, and this really will help step you through the assignment. I think that kind of what students struggle with is like they see the demo, but then they don't have the written instructions, and so that can kind of get confusing. So I'm going to send this link to, I'll post this under the announcements so you have this link, but I'll put it here if you guys want to follow along. In fact, if you decide to do this design, you will need to download a few fonts and install them on your computer. Don't be scared. They are going to be what you're going to use. They're going to create the graphics basically for your assignment. All right, so you're just going to create a new document here. And you're going to want about 4 columns for this assignment. 4, because we're going to want to lay out our text, our menus. You want to deselect facing pages. Number of pages, I forget how many we need to do. I think it said 4, 5 pages. I'll do 5, but I think the assignment said 4. We'll have to, I think it's a cover and then 4 inside pages, so we'll stick with that. You will need a bleed. Now, a bleed is what printers use to have backgrounds. If you're going to use a background color, you want it to bleed over all the edges so that when printers print, they don't crop it and have like a funky, uneven white border when they cut. So we want to make sure all the color or any graphic that's going to go over the edge is all uniform all around. So we use the bleed. You can either hit, I think it's 0.125 is it's either 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch. I can't remember what the assignment says. So either one is fine with me, as long as you have some sort of bleed. And that bleed is indicated by the red line here around your document. So you've got different color lines going on. That red line, the margin line, which is your purple inside line right here. And then you've got your double lines, which represent your gutter, the space between each column, okay? Okay, thanks, Amanda. So 1/8 of an inch, it's 0.125. So you can either enter the fraction in or the decimal, but we went over that during week 1, so you should be pretty familiar with it. All right, so now that we have our document set up, we're gonna go to step 2, which shows you how to, you can do this on your master page. What I'm gonna do is grab my line tool here, and I'm gonna go in between this gutter, it starts on the top of my margin line and ends on the top of my margin line. I'm going to set the weight of my stroke. Actually, the color is going to be black. I'm going to be very simple. And then the weight of it, maybe, let's see, 3 millimeter or 3 points. Let's do the diamond, white diamond. That looks good. Maybe 2, let's see. All right, and then I'm going to do one at the top. So I'll kind of give this some space. This is all being done on my master page because I want to only have to lay this out one time, and that way all my inside pages are laid out exactly the same, and it totally will save you time. So please, if you haven't used master pages, this is the time to get familiar with them. All right, so that's at the top of the page. You know what, I even prefer a thicker line, so I'm gonna go 3-point on this so that you can actually see what I'm doing. All right, and then just like the example says, there's just a few staggered lines where you can put menu items, or this is where you can create sections. And I'm going to just have this extend from one margin line to the other. And I'm going to hold down Alt Option to copy a line. And I'm just going to have these lines which will represent the sections of my menu. You're going to have sandwiches. I think you're going to have pizzas, or main dishes, appetizers. We're going to want to make sure that we have sections for it. So this is going to represent it. Now, not all pages will look the same in terms of content. You're going to have some pages that have more content than others. You have the freedom, and I will tell you this now, to lay it out the way that you want. If you need to add some more salads to balance out your page, or if you need to leave some of the information out because you have too many pizza items, that's okay. I just want to see balance and creativity and really clean layout. I don't want you to feel like you have to cram all the pizza items in one page because that's what the assignment says. I want you to have an eye for design and kind of leave some things out if you think that it needs to. I don't want to see empty pages, and I don't want to see crammed pages. So just kind of find a balance, okay? Now that I've got this, I'm going to probably maybe do a heavier one for the middle so it's a little different than the side ones. I can even lower the weight of this one. So the weight is a little bit different. So if I hit W on my screen, you can kind of see what I'm doing here. And because I've got this lined up with my margin line, it leaves me room to add a header, like let's try the date and time. Let's see what they did on their example. We'll use that. Scroll up here. There we go. Okay, so they've got the label on it, food summer menu, and then the hour. So we'll copy that same concept. So here we'll start with, I'll do spring, since we're in the spring food menu, okay? I'm gonna do all caps. I'm gonna grab my text box and rearrange it. And then I'm gonna need to adjust the size of my font. I'm going to left justify it. They have it centered, but I don't mind. I guess for contrast, we can't because the rest of the menu will be left justified. And then I'm going to make the font very small because in a header and a footer, you don't need it very big. In fact, we don't want it to be the star of the show. So we need to make sure this is much smaller. There we go. So that looks good. And then I'm going to just copy this same box over here. Like that. And this is where I'm going to put the text. Okay, and then like they have some they add a little underline for some contrast. It's up to you. Again, this is just whatever works with your layout, but I just want to show you that you can do some pretty simple things without needing to use a full-on background color. Okay, perfect. And then the center, I'm also doing this on my master, so this will be applied to all the pages. I'm using the font Great Vibes. And I think that's a great size for it. Using my eyedropper tool, I'm going to create a swatch here. Whenever you use a color that you really like, if you double click on it, hit OK, if you pull up your swatches under your window drop-down menu, click on Color, Swatches. You'll see your swatch has been selected in the stroke area. If you click on this New Swatch tab, it creates that swatch for you. So now you can use that swatch throughout. You already have a custom swatch. So that's the color I want to use for my menu. So I'm just going to keep using that color. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And I want this X to line up. Do you see how my lines turn green? Those arrows, they're locking everything in place and centering everything. So I want that. I'll zoom in so you can see that. I want that X, you see that X in my text box to line up with the middle of that diamond line. Now that that pink margin line is kind of, or ruler guide has kind of locked it into place, that's where I want to center it. So now it's centered. I have my inside pages laid out. So now I can put pictures here. I can put the menu items here. I have it sectioned off. So this looks really good to me. So right now I'm going to, I can even move this down if I want. So there's a little bit more breathing room. Just like that. I don't know, it's kind of up to you what you want it to look like. They give it a little bit more breathing room. If you're gonna do that, you might need a little bit bigger headline. Okay, so then I guess last thing you would need is a page number. I'm not going to do page numbers. It's a menu, so I don't necessarily need it. But you can do something cool, like we talked about, leaving a little footer border, something like that. Or if you want to do the Italian flag, that's cool too. It just kind of caps it and shows this is the end of the page. And that's a neat way to incorporate some color into your design. So that is how you do an inside page. And we'll go over the rest on how to lay out the text and the photos during week 4. But I wanted to get you a good starting point because for this assignment, you have to create the cover and need to show that you've created the rest of the page. You don't have to design all the pages, but you do need to design a concept for your inside page. And just by doing the master, now look at page 1, look at page 2, page 3, page 4. Now everything is already set up. So there's my concept. It's very simple. It's stylistically appealing. And this is and then I can go in and add the different headers and things later. But for this week's assignment, this is all you really need. Is just kind of have a basic layout and I only had to do it on one page. But by applying it to my AMaster, or it put it on all the other pages. So it saves you a huge step. Are there any questions? Do you want me to back up? Do you need some help if you're trying it? Would you like some time to try it? Okay, so as you can see, it's very simple. It's clean, and it allows me room to put my text and images, because I think a lot of students underestimate how much text you really are going to have. Now, I want to design a cover on page 1, but it seems to have this master layout that I can't alter. How do I override my master layout so that I can make a cover design? Anyone? Any ideas? Yeah, right click and override master items, exactly. So if you right click on, just don't, make sure you're on the page that you want to override. So page 1 is the one I want to override because I want to design the cover now. It doesn't need to look like the inside pages. It's actually the only page I'll really need to make significantly different. So I'll right click, override all master page items. And now this makes all the elements editable. So I can just delete everything because I don't need these items. I'm going to extend my background color. Here's your chance to go bold if you want to go bold. I'll go ahead and grab that logo from the previous assignment. Let's see. I don't believe I've downloaded it yet. Just kind of copy and paste that in. Now, a lot of students think that when it says art, they need to make it huge. You don't really need it big. In fact, I prefer the small logo. I think it's very rare that you go to a restaurant and you'll see their logo full page size. So let's just keep it relatively small, and embrace the white space. So I'm gonna before I do that though, I do want to set up my layers. I always forget to do that. So I'm gonna create some layers here. First layer I'm gonna do is gonna be background color. I'll hit OK. Second layer is going to be border. Hit OK. Third layer will be pictures. Fourth layer will be text. Okay. So, and then you can follow along with this tutorial. This is a great example. Typography, text, whatever. Let's see, that's how to do the inside pages. Let's move on to the cover. So these more of a grass green than, okay, here's the fonts. These are very fun, legible fonts for your menu. A lot of students think that if the more cursive the font, the fancier the font. For some reason, when they think menu design, they think fancy, and they want to go using a scriptive cursive font that is not necessarily the easiest font to read, and you don't want to use that for heavy bodies of text. If you notice in your newsletter, what type of font are you using for large amounts of text? Same with your smoothie page. Anytime there were more than maybe 4 or 5 words, we used, what font did we use? Right, Amanda, you want to use the fancy stuff sparingly. And also don't be afraid of using really simple fonts like Arial, Helvetica. Those are great fonts. Yeah, a basic sans serif, right, exactly. Dolores, Times New Roman was the font that we used. So for large bodies of text and for your inside pages, that is probably the best way to go, using a serif font. Like Times New Roman. For your headlines, you can use a contrasting font, a sans serif font like Arial or Helvetica or Myriad Pro, whatever you have on your computer. For this tutorial, though, there's a few fonts that you can download. You'll want to download these ones like Adhesive NR7 and Davies because they are going to create the easy graphics for you. And I'll show you that during week 4, how to get that all set up. But in the meantime, if you wanted to get a head start, you can follow along with this tutorial. It's really great. So what I do is, we all know how to access the glyphs, right? So we're going to use the glyphs. I'm going to draw a little text box here. I'm going to open go to, sorry, let's see, type. I'm going to go to glyphs. That'll open up my glyphs folder. Now I've already downloaded these fonts on my computer. So to find the symbol that you're looking for, you're going to want to enter in adhesive NR7 here at the bottom, okay? And then once you do that, you can hit enter, and it has all these really cool banners. So you don't have to create them, they're already there for you. Now I've already downloaded this font, so I'm going to go, I think it's this one. Let's see if I can find the one. Kind of hard to tell what's what. I think it might be this one. I guess it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be specific, but let's see. Oh, well, good enough. So we use that one and then just increase the font size. I wish I could find the one I was looking for. No, there it is. Okay, cool. Found it. All right, so now keep increasing it. Whenever it disappears on you, it means it's too big and the text box isn't large enough. So you kind of need to find that a good happy medium. All right, so then I'm going to want to kind of center this in the page. There we go. And then I'm going to change the color to white because I want a good contrast, a good contrasting color against my dark background. I'm going to kind of center this, and this is where you can put the, you go back to pictures, this is where you can place that logo. So I'm going to grab this logo here, place it, and I get it centered with my label. All right. Now that I have a white banner, I want a contrasting color, but I'm just, oh, and that reminds me, I want you to stick kind of to the colors in the logo. You don't want to veer too different, like blue and yellow. You kind of want to stick as close as possible. Now I know they're using green and red, but where possible, please include the colors. So black, don't be afraid of using black. I'm going to use this, right now I'm going to use white as my reverse text because there's white in the logo. I'm going to use the Great Vibes font that they suggest. And I'm going to highlight this. So the white is in the banner. I guess I'm going to right click, go to arrange. Oh, whoops. My text. I need to be on the right text layer. There we go. Now I'm going to highlight this and click on the color of my background, and that kind of looks like it's been punched out. Like you can see that punch out effect. I don't know if you've ever seen that before, but this is a neat effect. So I'm going to, and then my text is going to be spring. Whoops. There we go. Kind of center that. With the rest of the information. And I don't want it to really hang off the edge, so I'm going to bring in my font a little bit. All right, perfect. Oh yeah, is it supposed to say menu? Let's see, where's the example? Oh, spring menu, yeah, thank you. Whoops. We'll make that a little smaller so it all fits. Perfect. Okay, so now that we've got that, that's a basic layout. Now, the rating rubric says do more than just place a logo on an 8.5 by 11. I've showed you how to do this. You can also create a border if you'd like by grabbing the rectangle frame tool. You want even amounts of space on all sides, and you can do the same thing. I'm going to incorporate some repetition by creating that same white diamond look to my stroke. And for my stroke, I'm going to do white. And I'm going to do about 3 point. So that's going to add kind of a nice element to my cover, and it's going to tie in with the inside pages because I've already got that same border on the inside of my pages. So again, we're repetition. We're repeating with color because I've got the green. It's kind of just a highlighting to make some emphasis, but I'm also doing it tastefully by leaving the background white so it's not overwhelming to the eyes. The next thing I'm going to want to do, suggest in the examples to kind of put some menu items on your cover. You can do appetizers or starters, salads. So that's what we're going to do here. Before we do that, I'm going to show you how to create the other part of your menu. So by going to, let's see, everything is freezing. I'm sorry, I can't even move my mouse to where I want it to go. There we go. Wow. Okay, so now this is where we're going to incorporate the other font that they suggested we download. I'm going to go to Type, Glyphs, and the other font that they required or they recommended is Davies. You'll download that, and once you do that, it'll give you all these little cool glyphs you can insert. I'm going to use this hand insert pointing to the right, and I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to give it a white color so it matches my banner. I'm going to kind of increase the size here, not too big, and I'm going to kind of align it here. There's going to be this invisible line from the edge of my border to this box. All right, and then I'm going to do the same thing right here, except I want the hand to point the other direction, just like that. Okay, so then once I've got the hands laid out and everything's lined up, this is where I'll put the text in between. I'll draw my text box and kind of get it centered in between those fingers. And this is where I'll type in appetizers, starters, or it can be pizza, salad, sandwiches, whatever you want it to say. I'm going to do the all caps. I'm also going to use American Typewriter is the font that I'm going to use for this one. Kind of gives you the same effect. And I'm going to increase the font a little bit. It's not as big as my Spring Menu font, but it is a step down, so it's going to tell the eye when the audience is reading this is the next most important thing, and that's what I'm serving. Change the font color to white. And then in between each one, I'm going to put a little divider, and you can find these dividers under your glyphs, under American Typewriter. Okay, and then I'm just going to center this text right here. You can put a return where you need to. And to create some emphasis, I'm going to create, some of these are going to be bold, or actually some of these are going to be light. And some are going to be regular. Exactly as you see it in the example. Okay, so here I've created some contrast by using some regular, some bold. I'm going to probably move my hands in a little bit so that they're I want the proximity to show that this is part of the section. I can take this little dot off because I don't need it. It's already being divided by the return. Same with the salads. I don't need that glyph right there. Okay. So that is a good start to the menu layout. It's also a good introduction to our theme for the menu. This is how I would suggest laying it out. You can copy this layout. The tutorial is given to you in that link, or you can choose something completely different. Just keep it tasteful. This is your opportunity to be creative without having to copy someone else's work. So, but this is a good starting point to kind of how you can lay out your pages, and we'll go over the rest during our tutorial during week 4. Are there any questions? We're wrapping up class. No questions, pretty easy. Pretty straightforward, I should say. It's still challenging, but still, hopefully this gives you a good starting point. All right, ladies, I will see you all hopefully tomorrow during the open lab. Again, if it doesn't work for you, there's other options to go get some help and get those questions answered. But I am here to help you, and so I'll be following up with you guys tomorrow during my office hours, and hopefully we can get some questions answered. Diana, did you have any other questions for me about your assignment? Are we good? Or Dolores? So, okay, perfect. Well, since no one's speaking up, I will assume everyone is good to go. You guys have a great night. Thank you for attending today, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks, ladies. We'll see you. Bye-bye.